This is the Magna Lite SG, this is the Primus Trail FG, and out over there is the Primus Trail in Canada. And today we're going to be looking at both of these shoes and seeing which one of them is worthy of your hard-earned money and which deserves the title of the best barefoot hiking shoe for the summer. And to do that, we're going to be heading onto the Primus Trail, which has got everything that we need for this test. It's got searing heat, it's got boggy ground, it's got loose surfaces, and it's got plenty of obstacle scrambles. But first off, we're going to take a quick look, a quick introduction to the shoes, starting with their similarities. And kicking it off, these are both barefoot shoes, which means you're going to see a big step away from the norms of traditional hiking shoes. Manny, would you throw me a more traditional shoe, please? Nice, like this one, where this one is tapered in towards the center. This one, the high point is the toe. What that means is that this shoe is actually foot shaped, meaning your foot can actually act as a foot. It can help you balance, it can help you stabilize as you're moving through tricky terrain instead of just bunching up like a weird claw hand. And if you'd like to know more about how that carries through outside of balance, outside of stability, I definitely recommend watching this video up here, which is all about the time I've spent in barefoot shoes, once you've watched this whole video. Fabric wise, both of these shoes are knitted for breathability on hot summer days and also elasticated. And that just allows these shoes both to conform to your foot. They act like a sock, makes them very comfortable to wear, which coupled with how light both of these shoes are, 250 grams and 180 grams respectively, you almost forget that you're wearing them at times. They're zero drop, they've got very minimal puncture resistant soles which are very effective at allowing feeling in and keeping sharp things out. And then the Magna Lite, which is this one, this does come with a 2.5mm base sole and then 5mm of lug height, while the Primus Trail, this one has got a 3mm base, marginally thicker, but only 2.5mm from the lugs. And really this is where we start to see the difference between these shoes sneaking in. The Magna has an incredibly aggressive soft ground sole. It's got that extra 2mm of lug height over the trail, but also a completely different lug pattern, which you'll see when we zoom in on both of these, where the Trail uses a high density, firm ground pattern. The Magna Lite's lugs are much more spread out, which would in theory offer better traction on soft, loose ground like its SG namesake. But to see that, we need to head out there. This is corn. I never knew it got this big. Stuff's huge. This is why we need to get out and explore more. You never know what you're going to find out. The reality of these shoes are that both are incredibly effective when it's a little bit loose underfoot. But I will admit I can feel a little bit more bite in the lights over the trails. And I think that's probably down to that different lug pattern and the slightly more aggressive tread. Interestingly, Vivo hasn't opted for a stitch sole on either of these shoes, which may make a lot of hiking purists shudder, but that tends to be a running trend with the brand, all of their textile shoes, and having used a lot of their range in a lot of different conditions, I've never personally had any problem with it at all. One big noticeable difference between these two is the ankle material. The Lite has it, the Trails don't. Personally, I'm not too worried about having ankle support. I've been wearing barefoot shoes for several years now, and one of the big pluses to that is that my proprioception, or my general awareness of my body in space, has heightened a lot. So I don't tend to lose balance or ever really risk. I'm being eaten alive, man. So I tend not to lose balance too much. I don't ever risk going over on an ankle. If you're a bit more cautious, then the Lite has got a clear advantage for you. And it also comes with the added benefit of keeping a little bit more debris out of the shoe itself when you're walking in the loose stuff, which is a perk that I'm really enjoying at the minute because the Trails have managed to pick up quite a little bit of debris, whereas the Lite's are completely fine. I've also decided today to wear both of these shoes without socks, which I wouldn't normally do, so I can see if there's any heat spots where the shoes are rubbing because of fitment issues or design issues, which in a real world scenario could lead to a hike stopping blister. And while the Trails have up until this point been hiding in the shadows, this is where they really start to shine. They feel amazing on the foot. They feel very light, very nimble, and importantly, without any warm spots. The Lites, on the other hand, are causing a little bit of heat in two spots, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. You stay just there. Both are where the stitched lace bed actually meets with the shoe, and that's down to the raised stitching inside the shoe itself.
Now that wouldn't be a problem if I was wearing proper hiking socks. I don't think it would be an issue on single day hikes unless you're in really hot temperatures and your feet have a tendency to blow up a bit, or if you're on a multi-day hike, again, in really, really high temperatures. Not wearing socks is definitely exaggerating this issue though, so unless you're planning on wearing them without socks, I would definitely apply a little bit of rationality to this. Oh, fuck, I'm being destroyed. The feature that I do really like on the Magnas is that these are actually lace-ups, while the Trails have got this pull cord system, which you can use to adjust the tightness where you need it. I personally find the elastication of the upper to have enough structure to it to use them without, unless I'm trail running. While the lights definitely have the same amount of structure, you do actually have to do up the laces to be able to do anything. So it kind of forces you to make sure that you've customized the fit where you want. And on hot summer days like today, it's really, really easy to loosen those off when your feet start to swell out a little bit. And because they've quite intelligently decided to use this lace support, this fabric support, as opposed to metal eyelets, you'll also find the laces have got a little bit more give in them anyway, which is a really nice feature, and it does a lot for the overall comfort of this shoe. In terms of breathability, both of these are made from a very hard wearing knitted textile. The SGs are pretty new to my arsenal, but I have owned similar shoes from Vivo in the past. They're very, very hard wearing, they're very durable, and while the knit itself would let very sharp objects like thorns pass through the shoe if they're guided right into it, the knit is tight enough that it's not going to rip or damage the fabric at the same time. There's a lot of friction resistance as well, so as long as you don't start kicking thorn bushes, you should be completely fine. All in, I am very impressed with both of these shoes, and it honestly is really hard to pick a winner from between them because they've both got their use cases. Fundamentally, the recipe is the same throughout. Thin, aggressive soles that let you know exactly where your foot is in space. You can feel every rock, every lump, every bump through that sole. You know exactly when you're losing traction, and you've also got all the time in the world to correct it. Even when you're running, both of these shoes are going to give you a lot of support, and I, to be honest, would consider trail running in these as well. The knit on both is well woven, it's very firm. The only problem that I've noticed on both is the traction on smooth, wet or mossy rock, which in summertime is pretty few and far between. The big or only differentiator is the price, which, as you'd expect, is going to be more for the shoe with more material. The Magna Lite SG tips the scale at $210 US or $189 if you use the channel's discount code GT10, which gets you 10% off the entire VivoBarefoot range, or $180 discounted to $162 for the Primus Trails using our code. Is the extra ankle support worth $25? I think that really comes down to you and your confidence in navigating the terrain underfoot and the type of terrain you'll be conquering. For example, if you spend a lot of time on loose, scraggy rock, I'd definitely pay the extra $25 just to not have to shake my shoes out every few hundred meters. But if that's likely not going to be an issue, then the Primus Trail FGs are a force to be reckoned with. I've used them for just about every modality going. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you like this video, and thanks very much for watching. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my hike.